Teo, great to see you. Welcome to Popternative.
Thank you very much. Good to see you too.
I remember when this movie was announced, we were like, yes, we're getting more Final Destination. Final Destination Bloodlines is in theaters now. It's been crazy, right? Because at some point you get told that it's going to come out, and now it's out. People have seen it. Big box office success. What's that been like for you since it's been out?
It's been insane because we filmed this movie, around this time last year.
Yep.
So it's been a while since, I was in this world and experiencing all of this. So I almost kind of forgot about it for a few months because I think if I were to keep thinking about it over that period of time, I would have lost my mind.
Yep.
So I kind of just forgot about it, and then it all just happened so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Coming out and doing press and stuff and seeing billboards everywhere and the trailer and the box office success, it's all been very just overnight, and it's been insane. It's been unbelievable.
I mean, it's pretty crazy to think about the fact that you're going to be part of Final Destination like marathons forever. Like that's the craziest thing.
That's the coolest thing because I love Final Destination marathons. I do one every year.
You're part of it now, which is crazy.
Add one to the tally. But
I feel like yourself, Kaitlyn, Brec, Owen, everyone that got cast for this, I feel like is in a very unique casting situation, in my opinion, because there's familiar territory and unfamiliar territory at the same time, right? Because we know the franchise, but this is kind of a different kind of spin on it with the family component, different characters. Did you think about that when you were cast for this? Where you know what's going on, but at the same time you don't know what's going on? It's funny to think about.
Yeah, I was kind of confused, honestly, at the start because, all these movies, they kind of make you hate the characters. And as I was reading the script and as we were making the movie, I was like, I feel like I kind of like these characters. Is that what we're supposed to be doing? But I think it works so well. It's different. You've never not wanted to see these characters die.
Absolutely.
You really care for this family and these characters, and you want them to see it through to the end.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it's interesting too, right? Because my filmmaker hat, I feel like, has this on because I make films in the horror genre as well. And like sometimes you see like a 4 or 5 minute scene and the viewer is watching that scene, but that scene might have taken, 2-3 days to film, so to speak. And I feel like the barbecue scene, right? I feel like that was probably a long time. So when those big scenes happen, Teo, do they feel like their own mini movie or do they feel like part of the overall project?
They kind of do because we were in that backyard for 2 days. We filmed everything in 2 days. Honestly, the first day was just Owen and I jumping on a trampoline while everyone else was acting. That was the first day, and then the second day was like Howard dying. No spoilers, right? Cut that out.
I can cut it out. That's fine. Absolutely. I mean, the movie's out. I mean,
yeah.
You know what? You're spoiling the fact that people die in Final Destination.
And he's the first deaths, whatever. Yeah, the second day was that, and other things. So when you go to one location for 2 days and you're doing a very specific thing, yeah, it does kind of feel like it's its own thing.
And I want to ask then, because the barbecue is a perfect next segue to my question, because anytime a new Final Destination movie comes out, everyone's excited about what's that, like how does death show up, right? Like what's the first kind of like, what is the sequence, right? And we've had them all, right? We've had like planes, we've had roller coasters, we've had NASCAR, we've had it all. Family barbecue. When do you find out about that? Like, is that early on, like when you're reading the script? Do you even like get like told that it's gonna be a big barbecue sequence, or do you read that like in the beginning of the script? Like, when do you find out about that sequence?
Yeah, I mean, I find out when I read the script.
Yeah.
The script was so good. Like, the script was really what got... Obviously, I was so excited to do a Final Destination movie, but then I read the script, and then I was like, oh, I'm really excited. Because everything just jumped out at the page, especially that barbecue scene. Every little cut that's in the movie, and every little thing, every little detail that's in the movie was more or less in the script.
Yeah.
They did exactly what they wanted to see on the screen.
Yeah, I'm doing this interview right now. We're talking about Final Destination. I have like big lights up here. You know what I mean? So it's like,
I have a light fixture up here. What if this comes down? This
Absolutely.
flower
Not your first time working in the horror genre, because you've been part of kind of the Chucky world and you're going to continue to work in the horror genre. What are you learning about the horror movie community, like fan base wise, after working on these projects, specifically with Final Destination Bloodlines?
They can be really welcoming and kind and really awesome, and they can also be really harsh.
Absolutely.
It's hard to make them happy, but when you do, which I think we did on the, it's really rewarding because I'm one of them. You know what I mean? I'm a huge horror fan.
Yeah.
So I really want to make the fans happy, but it's not easy to do.
How separate are past projects for you compared to something like Final Destination Bloodlines? Like, do mindsets and preparations from past roles come into play with this character, or are they completely separate once you wrap them?
I think I like to go into every character with a fresh slate. Music is really important for me. Every time I get a new role, I ask the directors, I talk to the directors about who is this person, like what's going on, and I make a playlist for that character, for all the music that I think they would listen to.
Absolutely.
And that is honestly one of my biggest ways I prepare for like a character, and I have a graveyard of playlists on my Spotify that have helped me get into character. I think that's the biggest thing for me.
I'm a big heavy metal guy and hard rock, like a hard rock fan, and I love the fact that I remember growing up, like all the horror movie soundtracks had the best songs in them. There was like Slipknot and Disturbed. Like I love that, and I want that to come back. It's like the best. It gets you pumped up. They go together. I feel like.
Dude, there needs to be like a new metal resurgence in popular media and movies, because I love like that 90s 2000s new metal wave, Slipknot, Korn, Deftones.
Yep.
There needs to be a resurgence of that music used in movies.
Well, I interviewed the drummer Barry Kirch of Shinedown, and we actually talked about the fact that Devour was used in the opening of one of the Final Destination movies. It was pretty cool.
Right. Yes, it was.
Devour. It was Devour during the NASCAR. Like the...
Yes.
I think that one was the Final Destination. I believe that was the title of that one.
Yeah.
It's always fun too, because Final Destination 3 with the roller coaster, I've had people I've interviewed on the show before that are my past guests, and Patrick Gallagher, shout out to him, great actor. He had that role where he's like the roller coaster the manager, the supervisor, when she's freaking out about the crash. And and there's like a fight breakout, and he's like, no one gets off this ride. And I always every time I talk to him, I always think about that. You know what I mean? The impact of the movies. Like, he's been in so many amazing things, but I always think about that scene in Final Destination.
Dude, that's what Final Destination does. It's like every opening sequence is so iconic, and it just sits in your mind. And if there's an actor that's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be Final Destination. You know what I mean?
Are you okay? That's a good segue to my next question. Are you, because these are like the movies that like have the audience kind of like dialed in, and they want to know what's gonna happen, and the opening, and like how Death shows up and everything. Are you ever conscious of the audience member watching Final Destination Bloodlines while you're in production making it? Or is that something that happens a little bit more after you wrap, so to speak?
I mean, both. When you're making the movie and, you're getting all these different camera angles, you do wonder, like, oh, how is this going to turn out? How are people gonna like this? And I think while filming, I tried not to think about that as much as possible, because at the end of the day, that's kind of out of my hands. How people perceive the movie. All that is in control is how people perceive my character.
Yes.
If I think about that too much, again, I'll lose my mind. But you do think about it. You do think about it, like, oh, are people gonna like this? How's this gonna end? Man, we delivered. People love it, which is so awesome.
I also want to kind of get back to like working in the horror movie genre, because it's interesting because they've always been around, but there's been a big popularity and surge, and they're doing so well in the box office. And it seems like there's like a new horror movie coming out every week, which is crazy. You know what I mean? When like it started to kind of sink in that people were going to be able to see it in the movie theaters, did it excite you, the fact that yes, you worked on a lot of really cool things, and you worked on things that people could see in the theaters, people can watch at home, but it's like you're working on a franchise that is like made for the movie theaters. You know what I mean? So like, does that kind of sink in? Do you talk about that with your family and friends a little bit? Like you're like, that is like, you think of like Final Destination, you think of like, you have to go see it in the movie theaters. There's no question.
You know, it's funny, while we were filming the movie, you know, the directors told me, oh, we're filming it in IMAX. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's really cool. But it wasn't like tangible yet. Yep. You know what I mean? So it didn't really hit me.
Yep.
Now that it's, you know, out and we've been getting, you know, the worldwide box office numbers, it's been making me realize, oh my God, people are seeing this in theaters.
Yep.
All over the world. Like the whole world has access to this movie on the big screen, and it's surreal.
Absolutely. And I talked to Kaitlyn about this too, right? The representation, Filipino family. Like, is that something you talked about a lot with Kaitlyn as well, like when you were preparing for the role?
Yes. What was actually really cool was the directors came to us and they asked, you know, like what, you know, how should we go about representing Filipino culture in this movie, which is so wonderful. And it's not super common. Don Mancini on Chucky is someone else who asked that,
yeah.
Which is always really wonderful. And yeah, because it's very rare. And, you know, we gave them certain things, like certain foods that our dad would be cooking, or, you know, things have hanging on the wall. And it was such a privilege to be able to represent my culture and heritage on the big screen for the world. Really
absolutely. Cool. The Briones family are powerhouse storytellers. You know what I mean? Your sister Isa Briones is in, you know, on HBO Max, The Pit. Your father John is just incredible, amazing body of work. Worked in horror as well. Last Voyage of the Demeter, just saying. Love that movie.
Horror story.
Exactly. Have you seen? Have you watched like his films?
I watched every single one of my dad's.
Voyage, you've seen that one?
Love The Last Voyage of Demeter.
It's a lot of fun, right? Like it's yeah. What are the conversations like? Like, are they obviously, you know, siblings? You hear a lot of stories. You help each other with your self tapes and everything, right? But are a lot of like the conversation and hangouts with your family, given that you're all storytellers and actors, are they about storytelling, or is that completely separate? Like, are they completely separate, like the dinner table conversations? Like, I'm always curious about that.
I think for the most part, funny enough, no. But every once in a while, we'll have a very, you know, deep and long talk about the business and our careers and you know, stuff like that. But for the most part, we just talk about random bullshit. Honestly.
Oh, absolutely. But you know what we're talking about right now? We're talking about the fact that Final Destination Bloodlines is now in theaters.
And you need to go see it.
Absolutely. And you know what? If you've seen it, you know what they can do, right? They can go again.
Yes, you can go again. Unfortunately, probably by the time this interview will be out, it'll no longer be in IMAX. But still go see it because it's still amazing.
Well, there's interviews coming up pretty soon, so...
Okay, great. I think the last one in IMAX is tomorrow, unfortunately. So I got to go see it one more time in IMAX.
Absolutely. Teo, so great chatting with you, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you for your time. This was great.
Yeah, there's an Instagram, there's a lot of content online, right? Instagram, if people just say Teo Briones, they'll find you, right? There's a lot of BTS, a lot of interviews, right?
Find me. It's not that hard.
Absolutely. Well, this has been Popturnative, youtube.com/Popturnative for previous episodes. Until next time, it's Teo Briones and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popturnative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popturnative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.